Hello, I'm Ciarán Lynch and welcome to OviCast, the Teagasc Sheep podcast. Each episode will bring you latest insights, advice and technical updates for the sheep industry. In this week's episode we're glad to be joined again by Shane Moore. He's a participant in the Better Farm Sheep programme and he's farming just outside Athleague in County Roscommon. Shane discusses lamb performance this year and his current drafting on the farm. With the breeding season just around the corner, we talk about breeding new lambs and how this year's cohort are shaping up. We move on to discuss grassland management, the overall production this year and how it has fared, and some of the changes Shane has made to his management, from using protected urea, using dribble bar for slurry, to establishing clover swards in response to the increase in input costs. We discuss the autumn grazing plan on the farm, and to finish up, Shane highlights the upcoming open day on the farm on the 6th of October at 6:30pm. We start off, however, discussing how well Shane's on with lamb drafting at the moment.
They're going well now at the minute. There's probably up on nearly 60-70% of lambs drafted there now at the minute. They probably have kicked on well since weaning. We're probably slightly back at weaning than other years, but they have come on grand now since weaning. They're doing all right the last couple of weeks.
Shane, I suppose it's kind of common enough. We all probably experienced a fairly easy start to the year after lamb and grass supplies were good and weather was fairly favourable. But I remember chatting to you before, but as your lambs kind of slowed down a little bit from 7 weeks on around that May period on the farm.
Yeah, I suppose Ciarán, when we had them in for, well, I kind of noticed myself first when they were in for Ciarán, but then at weaning, they were a good bit back. Like they were probably a kilo or a bit more than a kilo back on where they were last year. And didn't seem to have that many lambs fit to go at weaning as opposed to other years, but there was a lot of lambs kind of in the 30 to 35 kilogram bracket at the time. There was a lot of lambs around that weight.
I think that's fairly common. When we look at the national picture, you can see Kill was back a wee bit. Since weaning, Shane, how's lamb performance gone for you? What have you done with that group? Have you run a finishing group here?
Yeah, so at weaning there was a finishing group of ram lambs picked out there. Any lambs that were kind of 37 or 38 kilos plus were put into the finishing group, and the rest of them were all ran as one group. And I suppose as I was drafting lambs over the finishing group, I was kind of drafting heavier ram lambs back into the finishing group. So the finishing group of ram lambs kind of stayed around maybe the 50 to 60 mark there for most of the summer, And
how much feed are you going in with them lambs?
And between 400 and 500 grams per head per day in trocks.
So I suppose that kind of keeps a regular drafting going on you from weaning on.
Yeah, so I suppose, they're kind of, I'm drafting nearly every 2 weeks. There's 2 weeks there. It's more or less 2 weeks to maybe 3 weeks in that time if I have to dose them or whatever after feed to leg counts. But it's usually every 2 weeks I'm drafting lambs there out of the feeding group. So
Shane, you're weighing fairly regular. What kind of performance are you getting on the lambs at the moment?
Yeah, so I suppose the lambs are doing about 180 grams per head per day here since weaning up to date.
So they're probably slightly ahead of where most are at the moment. They're moving on rightly. Shane, just to bring you in on the right, so you have a lot of lambs drafted. You're keeping your own replacements on the farm and you're making new lambs. How have the old lambs done for you, and have you many suitable for going to the ram this year?
Yeah, so they're doing fairly well here. And again, they were well back again at weaning, but they seem to have come on now. Them lambs have got no feeding. They're only on grass. They're getting no meal. And the plan is to, when turn out to rams, I'll draft them whatever is 47 kilos plus, probably more or less. We'll go to the ram. There should be in the region of 30 ewe lambs, I'd say, plus maybe they're 30, 35 that should be fit to go to the ram when I turn out.
You'll have a good pick. But look, we're not that far off at I mentioned the ram's going out with you in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, the rams are going out here on the 7th, maybe 8th of October. The rams will be going out with the ewes, and the old lambs the rams will be joined within 2 weeks after that, 14 days.
Another season kicking off again, Shane, but I might just look, there's a good chance maybe to chat with you about how the year has gone for you so far. And look, it's been a challenging enough year from a cost point of view, from a grass point of view in farms, and you alluded to some of that earlier. Just if we look back at it, overall performance on the farm this year from grass point of view, how has grass growth been this year by comparison to last year in an overall context, maybe?
Yeah, so I suppose, Ciarán, I was one of the lucky ones, I suppose. I wasn't really affected by the drought as much as others. The grass, no, it did kind of stunted a small bit there for a couple of weeks, but I was never really under pressure for grass all summer long. I was fairly okay on that. The grass kept growing all summer, and I suppose as the figures show, that kind of, in my pasture base, I'm slightly ahead of where I was this time last year on grass growth, like, you know.
I think I remember chatting to you before, like overall you were sitting probably around 11 ton last year for the total production. So you're slightly ahead of that already.
Yeah, I would be ahead of that already. Yeah, so look at it. Hopefully it'll keep growing now for the next couple of weeks, and we get them into the shed off the pasture, I suppose.
Just in terms of fertilizer, Shane, what have you gone with maybe in total figures this year? What have you done different on the farm than previous years?
Yeah, so I suppose, Ciarán, with the price of fertilizer, we had to have a long, hard think about how we're going spreading. And I suppose as in other years, I would have been using a good bit more of the compound fertilizer, 18612s and your likes, and maybe not too much slurry, kind of. But this year, I kind of put out, it's all been urea and protected urea that has gone out, and slurry spread with a dribble bar after the sheep on paddocks, which surprising. I was very surprised. It actually worked very well for me.
I suppose, Shane, you've no set silage area as such on the farm, so you had the option of going in after the grazing with the dribble bar.
Yeah, that's kind of it. Like, I suppose I was taking out paddocks there for silage as they were going heavy. Now I suppose there wasn't really as much paddocks taken out this year in the midsummer as there would have been in other years. I suppose again that probably reflects on the fertilizer usage probably wasn't just as high in the summer. And I suppose I do close a small bit of silage, a set bit of silage early in the year, and that all got slurry after cutting it, because just the way it worked out, there was too big of a cover on it. I couldn't put slurry on it in spring.
You're trying to gear in for that first cut in May anyway, so just sometimes the balance is hard to get.
Yeah, no, the silage, like, first cut silage was cut here on I think it was the 14th or 15th of May this year. So
you were saying you were surprised by the dribble bar after the grazing. What was the big difference from what you perceived it would be to what you actually seen on the ground?
Yeah, I suppose, Ciarán, I tried it a couple of years ago in paddocks after sheep had grazed, and it was just splash plated on, and you put the O's back in again, and they'd be doing their level best to actually get back out of the paddock, even though they'd be in, that perfect grass, like 9, 10, 12 centimeters of grass, like. Whereas with the dribble bar, I didn't see that as much this year. There were content going into it, and I suppose that you would see the lines all right in the field after them, but come to the second round of grazing, there was no difference. The grazed it all the second time round, it's the same.
So from a management point of view, you'd see that has been a definite thing you're going to keep going with.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, going forward, I think I will be using it much, much more. Yeah.
Look, we're chatting about costs and fertilizer. I know you did a bit of reseeding this year, and you're keen to get a bit more clover in the system. How did that work for you? When did you go in with the reseed, and what have you done with it?
Yeah, so I reseeded 3 acres back in. It was around the 20th of June. It was sown in, and it's a field kind of away from the rest of it, so it's kind of been managed separate since it was reseeded. I suppose the lambs were on it there for a good while, and I put a good bit of clover into it. Now I kind of went a bit over the top on the clover, but I wanted to get a good establishment clover in it. So there seems to be a right good bit of clover through it now, and I suppose I was grazing it, not letting it get to too high a covers, and graze it down pretty quick and move them on again,
Shane, what kind of cover are you going into? So you said you went a bit heavy. You added additional clover into the grass mix.
Yeah, so I went in at just over 2 kilos of clover to the acre, as opposed to what was in the bag. I think it was 250 grams of clover to the acre. So and I suppose I was grazing, I was letting it regrow maybe back to 10, probably 12 centimeters was the very, very tops one section got at some stage. But that 9, 10 centimeters, I'm going in and grazing it quick again and moving the lambs on again off it,
In terms of striking at the moment, did you do anything different with fertilizer on that after the first application? Did you ease off it, or why is it different?
Yeah, so I suppose that paddock actually got very little fertilizer. It got the 4 bags 10, 10, 20 to the acre when I was sowing it. And then after the first grazing, it got about maybe, I think it was around 16, 17 units of urea to the acre. And after that, then it got nothing until the last round of fertilizer was going out, and it got another 15 or 16 units of nitrogen to the acre.
So there's only that bit of protect urea after. Just in terms of taking the clover, how well does that work for you this year or not?
There seems to be a great take of clover in it, yeah. There seems to be a very good take of clover in the field now. Hopefully, I can keep it grazed tight, I suppose, into the back end and try and keep that, keep it there and let it tiller out over the winter. No, as it looks to be a good job now, Kieran, to be
Look,
fair.
I know that was one of the older pastures. Remember you telling me about before, but planning going forward, Shane, do you see yourself doing a bit of oversowing next year on the basis of how well that one has worked and that's saving in the summer, or what do you think?
Yeah, no, I would be, Kieran. I definitely will be oversowing some paddocks next year with clover seed into them. You can see the difference. That field is growing every bit as much grass as other fields with no clover, and they're getting fertilizer and it's not getting fertilizer. So I suppose that's that's only in the first year now. I know it's new grass and all, but at the same time, it's still able to perform at the same level as paddocks that have been getting fertilizer.
There's that potential saving there. Shane, just maybe come back to where we're at the moment. We're talking about grass. I suppose the next focus for you is going to be closing up and getting set up for that closing plan at the moment. You have a good lot of your lambs gone. You're carrying new lambs into the winter. You're carrying ewes in. You've cattle as well on the farm. How are you at the moment for grass covers, and what's your plan for closing up on the farm this year?
Yeah, so Kieran, I have good covers at the minute. Now, I suppose I don't have them big high covers that I would have had in other years. Like, you're heading up for the 14, 15 centimeters, that whole kind of grass. But they're all kind of lowish enough covers, I suppose, 11, 12 centimeters, and again, I suppose that's down to not going with as much fertilizer. I suppose I didn't build that cover, but I'd stay on an overall thing over the farm. I probably have every bit as much grass as I had last year, whereas some of the covers last year were an older, dirtier cover, if you know what I'm saying. So I suppose
these are slightly easier to manage, maybe.
Yeah, it should be nice leafy grass for them now going into the back end, that sort of way.
I suppose, Shane, advantage of them slightly lower covers this year, you're carrying in to be a wee bit easier to deal with when you go to graze them out.
Yeah, so Kieran, I suppose that, last year, the first couple of paddocks I had for closing up last year, I had them fairly right. There was light covers on them and I got them grazed out and got them closed. But I suppose it was in the latter part of the closing plan that I was kind of struggling to get the fields grazed out. Whereas this year, they'll be easy enough grazed out. So I suppose I'll probably be going along the same lines as last year. I'll be starting to close up from usually around the 20th of October on. So I'd be aiming to have 20% of the farm nearly closed up by the end of October. And by mid-November, then I'd be hitting for 40%, and hit nearly December then 60%. And look, the plan is to have them all housed. All should be gone off well before Christmas. Usually last year I actually had to house them earlier with the weather, but I'd be hoping for sometime around the 20th of December to be all closed up.
But that spring grass in your system, Shane, is vital, and being able to carry it through has worked well for you in previous years.
Yeah, so I suppose here that was one benefit I saw, and I suppose with the shed I was able to do it last year. Just the way the weather went to give me, and I had too many groups running around in the back late on, and the grass disappeared. And I suppose I housed them maybe 10 days or 14 days ahead of when I wanted to house them last year. And I suppose the only thing was when I turned out in spring, I had a great supply of grass. I had great supply there in the springtime, so I wouldn't be hesitant to pull sheep in a bit early again if I had to, that sort of way, because the grass was there in the spring, and I need the grass more in spring than I do in the back end of the year, when the ewes go out, they need the grass, It
definitely takes more pressure off the system. Look, Shane, I know you're busy at the moment cleaning up. You have an open day coming up next week. You might just tell us when it's on and what kind of looking at.
Yeah, so there's an open day on Thursday the 6th of October here, Kieran, at 6:30 p.m. I suppose it'll be kind of showing the closing plan and what's going on, I suppose, on the grass side of things here on the farm for the last couple of months, and the plan for hitting into next spring, I suppose.
For anyone in the area, anyone interested in going, it'll be well worth a visit. It's definitely, I've been around the farm a couple of times with you, Shane. It's always a good chance to get around and see it, and you're very open and honest in how things have gone. So it'll be a chance to see anything you've discussed today and plenty more. All
are welcome to come. It's I suppose it's great to see what to get to see and what other lads are doing as well. I suppose I'd love going around to these farm walks as well. You get, if you only bring home one small idea from it, it's a great take home, from all the walks,
Shane, look, really appreciate you giving up your time to be with us today, and look, best of luck with open day next week. Hopefully plenty will get down and get a chance to go around you.
No bother, Kieran. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to leave it there for this week. I've included a link in the description that'll give you a bit more information about the upcoming open day on Shane's farm. Again, I would encourage anyone interested in attending to make the effort. It should be a very useful and practical walk. Like all other Better Farms, you can find more information about Shane's farm and other participants on the Better Farm webpage on the sheep section of the Teagasc website and in the Teagasc Sheep newsletter. That's it for me for this episode. Again, for updates from our sheep programme, keep an eye on our Twitter page at Teagasc Sheep. I'm Ciarán Lynch. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to subscribe and get notified of any new episodes.